Wow, Zers, that was Mitch. If you don't know Mitch, Mitch is awesome. He has a podcast called Tales from the Cobblestones, and he made me that. And I'm very, very happy because that's awesome. That's my favorite song ever. But did you see what he did? Your new dad, that's me. So excited you guys are here. We are rolling right along. And today we are going to talk about something near and dear to my heart. It's public service. And we're going to dabble in a little bit about finances, mix it all together, mush it together. What I want to get out today is the fact that people, so many people, young people, they seem lost, these young men. They're like, man, I just don't know what I'm going to do with my life, where I'm going to go. You know, mom, dad, I don't know what to do. Well, guess what? The one thing I wish I could do every day is create a flux capacitor and go back in time, because I was that guy. Listen, if you're confused about your direction, where you're going, there are so many things. It is a big, beautiful world. You could travel right now. You could take a year off. That's something they do in Europe that we don't do in the United States. They take a travel year, which I think is incredible. You could go learn a lot about other people. I had the opportunity when I was young to join the Peace Corps. It's like 2 years. I could have gone somewhere awesome and just built wells. I'm kind of bummed I didn't do it. I would have learned a lot about myself. Or you could maybe get a different job, you know? Like a service job. Like, I don't mean working in a restaurant. There's nothing wrong with that. You can always do that, save up a bunch of money, take off, go surf, do whatever you want to do. That's great. Do it while you're young, while you got the energy, because as you get older, your energy reserves, they get less and less. You're never gonna be more ready to go than in your 20s. So do not waste your youth playing video games, sitting around, moping about. If you got a problem meeting ladies, be different than all the goobers that are playing video games, doing nothing. Get your act together. My point is, when you're young, there's so many different things you can do. And I had the issue of thinking I needed to be just like my parents. I did. A lot of people in my family had government jobs. So I was like, you work 30 years, you get a pension, and that's what you do. But I'm more of a creative type, right? That's what I enjoy doing. I wish I would have gone out and explored more the arts. You know what I mean? That's me. But there's nothing wrong with getting a good government job. I always talk to people and they're like, man, I got my college education. I majored in this, that, or the other thing. I just can't find a job. Do you know how many jobs that are awesome that are out there that you don't need a college education for and you make bank? First off, you only need a high school diploma to be a police officer. You could be a cop in Laguna Beach, Irvine, get incredible benefits, health insurance, make great money. You could be a firefighter. You could work for the city, the water department. Great jobs, incredible jobs. Nobody ever tells you about this. You know, you could be a longshoreman, although things are getting a little wild with the longshoremen right now. You could be a boat captain. Get this, check this out. I forget what it's called. I think it's called a harbor captain. I found out about this like a couple years ago. A guy I know's brother became one. You know when the giant shipping container, giant ships come into like San Francisco Harbor or LA Harbor or any major harbor, they have to stop the captains of those ships and then they have to hand it off to a guy who is the harbor captain. And he brings in the boat and parks it, essentially, in the harbor. And they make, wait for it, $400,000 a year. Is it hard to become one? Yeah, you got to go through some training. You got to take tests, but good God. Or you could be a merchant marine, young men, young women. Do you know what that is? See, no one talks about this. Merchant marines. They leave for like 3 months. I only know this because I had a best friend whose uncles were all merchant marines. They go out on these giant shipping containers. They're gone for like 3 months. They see the world. They work. They come back with a big pocket of cash. Then they chill for 3 months. You can either save that money or you can live it up. And then they go back out to sea. And point is, or crane operator, good God. I met a dude this week. I was at a rest stop. And there's this giant, not even a semi, bigger than a semi, massive truck with a crane attached to it, the kind of crane that just is giant. and there's a little operating thing and the guy in there. So I start talking to him. I go, do you operate this crane? He goes, yeah, I worked on offshore oil rigs in my 20s off Santa Barbara. And in the 90s, I learned how to operate this crane. And in 92, 93, I was making $98,000 a year. That's insane. As a 22, 23-year-old. And now he's been doing it since then. Lord knows what he's making now. He's probably making $300K a year operating a crane. The point is, there's so many different jobs you can do. So don't give me that, oh, I graduated from college and people aren't hiring. There's so many different paths you can go down. You don't have to stick with one thing. You can always switch. You can mix it up. People are living longer than ever. Find something that you enjoy doing and do it. Just realize that there's a ton of different paths that you can take. But I, personally, would recommend to anybody, like I mentioned the Peace Corps, I would recommend doing something where you're interacting with the public, at least for a year or two. If you go to Israel, everybody has to serve in the military, right? For 2 years, I believe it is. They learn a ton at a young age. They have some skills, and they're giving back to their community. I strongly suggest, whether it's getting a job as an EMT, volunteering at a hospital, volunteering with the homeless, becoming a reserve firefighter, working at a police station, any of these different things, you're just going to get into a place where you're interacting with the public. And this helps you develop a sense of what the world is really like, especially if you're somebody who grew up maybe with some parents who kind of did everything for you. You don't have to take off and join the military and give them 4 years of your life. You can do something local, or you can go to the military. That's great too. But here's the point. You need to get out into the world, get off the teat, as they say. Because when you go out and you're working with the public, and go ahead and work in a not so good area, even a good area, it doesn't matter. You'll get inside people's homes and you'll be like, oh my gosh, horrible stuff goes on, even in nice neighborhoods. You'll go to the scene of accidents and you'll see dead people, you'll see injured people, and that will teach you about life and the beautiful gift that it is to be alive. It'll teach you how to control yourself when everybody around you is panicking. You'll be a person who can stay calm because you'll be exposed to so much, so many times that you'll know how to handle it. And that's a skill that you can use throughout life. It doesn't mean you have to stay on an ambulance for 20 years, but it means that you need to get out and meet different types of people. Me personally, working on an ambulance was like a gift from God. I worked in really bad neighborhoods and I worked in good neighborhoods. And I got to see the worst of humanity and I got to see the best of humanity. And then you're with people on their worst day of their lives in the back of an ambulance and you're talking to them. And you learn how to communicate with people in very stressful environments. And you become more sensitive to every type of person. So then when you come back to your day-to-day life, whatever job you do in the future, you have a better understanding of humanity. And that affects the way you see the world. It affects how you decide to vote, everything. I mean, working in bad neighborhoods, like you would see people absolutely take advantage of the system, of the welfare system. And you're like, are you kidding me? You get a lady who's 9 months pregnant. And she could call Joe or Bill or Bobby to take her to the hospital when she's going into labor. No, she picks up the phone and calls 911 because she uses the ambulance as her personal taxi. You see people that are living on the streets and maybe they almost OD or they do OD. And you give them Narcan, they come back to life. And they're upset at you. And you're like, you need to get clean. And they're like, I do need to get clean. But first, I need to get my EBT card because I need to get some more beer and we're going to party. And then after you save their life, they're out the back of the emergency room door and back on the streets 5 seconds later. So you learn about people. You see it. You learn about cities that are run poorly. You learn about people that are extremely well-educated, yet unhappy. You go to car accidents where there's a guy who's driving an incredible car and he gets rear-ended and he's faking, my neck hurts so bad. And you're like, man, this guy's rich. Like, what's he doing here? And then you get in the back of the ambulance and he's moving his neck around and he's just fine. He's just playing the system. You pull up to the hospital and then he's back to holding his neck again because he wants to sue whoever hit him. You see that all the time. You see the craziest things. You go into people's homes and you think that that hoarder show is crazy? No, you have no idea. The things you see inside people's homes are bizarre. Bizarre. Creepy, strange, weird. But you learn about people is my point. So get out there, do something where you can learn. And I see a huge gap. I see a huge gap today with people that have real world experience, street knowledge, street smarts, whatever you want to call it, and so-called experts. I meet so many people, whether they're my age or they're younger, and they have so many opinions about how things should be run, which is fine, that's their opinions. But then you start talking to them and you're like, you grew up in South Orange County, your parents paid for everything you've ever had, you've worked in business your whole life, what do you know about the welfare state? What do you know about violence? What do you know about homeless people and drugs and mental illness? Yet you're spouting out like you're an expert. Or working in COVID. I had the opportunity to be on the ground floor when that kicked off. And for about 2 weeks, I was like, oh my gosh, the world is going to end. And then I was like, wait a second. Everybody I see that's getting really sick, it's the same people that would get sick from anything. Overweight, 5 or more comorbidities, high blood pressure, diabetes. That's what I saw. Really, really unhealthy people. This thing was kicking their butt. And some of them, sadly, did not live. And some of them did. But what I did see was no children were being affected. Didn't see any kids being affected. Saw healthy, skinny 85-year-olds getting COVID. Maybe having to get put into the hospital, but then getting released from the hospital. So I was looking around going, this really doesn't match what I'm seeing on the news everywhere. That's like, you can't say it started in a lab in Wuhan. That's racist. It's killing everybody. I had people calling me going, are you seeing people in body bags everywhere? I'm like, no, it's business as usual. The sick, it's really hitting them hard. Yeah, the sick, they were already sick. They were walking around sick. Or they were at the end of their lives, about to die anyways. It's terrible to say, but that's what I saw. And then you would say that to people and they're like, oh, that's horrific. That can't be true. That cannot be true. But that's what I saw. In a few cases, there were people that did not have the knowledge that maybe they had an underlying issue, and that's a rough one. You know, maybe you had a heart condition, you didn't know about it, you got COVID, and it hammered you. But for the most part, yeah, it was really unhealthy people or people at the end of their lives. And that was it. And then I got to see in real time in the hospitals. The hospitals had no idea what they were doing. I would go to all these different hospitals. They were all on different pages. And I was like, whoa, the system's crazy. And then the vaccines rolled out. And they were like, let's do this. Let's give this to everybody. And I was like, why would we give this to everybody? I'm like, I'm a young, healthy guy, relatively young. I've worked with a bunch of healthy guys. Why would you give it to kids? Why? Like, I don't see anybody that's getting this and it's kicking their ass other than the people that are extremely unhealthy or about to pass anyways. Like, what's going on here? So being out in the field made me aware of what was really going on. And it was wonderful. Yeah, I was able to see the lies that were being spewed to me by the media because I was out looking around. And it was great. So yeah, that's an example of what you might learn if you get out there. So I'm a big advocate of real world experience, doing it. Plus, you push yourself, right? It's not normal. Kind of scary to pull up to an accident scene where there's bodies everywhere. And at first, it's overwhelming, but you get better at it and you realize somebody has to be here to help these people. And so you do it. Or ocean lifeguarding. That was a great job. 18 years old, got hired as an ocean lifeguard. Loved it. Learn how to deal with the public. Learn how to talk to people. Get out of your house. Don't be an indoor cat. We're stuck on these screens blah, 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 all day long. We got people out there that don't even know how to shake a person's hand and look you in the eye. So that is my recommendation. And you can make a lot of money. Don't spend it. Don't get a credit card when you're 18 years old and rack up a ton of debt. That is the lie. You want to know what being rich is? In my opinion, it's not having debt. It's having a car that you own. It's being able to have a little extra money to have some fun and creating a lifestyle where you aren't constantly stressed thinking about debt, because you know what stress and worry does? That's what kills you. The longest lived people I have encountered are happy-go-lucky, stress-free, smiling. They let everything roll off their back. You know, they're just chilling. That's the kind of person that you want to be. This is a rat race, and it's stupid chasing dollar bills, y'all. Yes, nothing wrong with being comfortable, but find something you enjoy doing, that you love, and you can make enough to live, and don't purchase things outside of your means. Who cares what other people think? Be the happiest cat in the room and enjoy your life. Do not go into debt. It is dumb, and it can take you years to dig yourself out of it. You don't need a ton of things. This whole like simplify your life, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, we all know that. I hope. I know it's hard in America when you're constantly being told to buy things, but it is dumb. You will just end up maybe with a house where there's nothing but stuff. And then you end up giving it away to the Goodwill, and it's silly. Just purchase what you need and live your life. Live your life. That is all I am saying. If I could talk to myself as a youngster, I'd be like, why are you in bars? Why are you wasting money? Why are you buying dumb things? I didn't even understand a credit card. I thought it was a magic little card that you swiped that gave you free purchases. I didn't know what interest was. Dumb, dumb, dumb. So get out there, learn something in a real job somewhere. Whether it's you go through travel and you work overseas, or you get a job here where it's nitty gritty and you're learning about real things, and then save your money and be smart. And you will develop into a much more complete human being. And by the way, the military is not a bad option at all. And there's different branches: the Coast Guard, the Air Force, the Marines, the Army, the Navy. You can pick different things, or even the Merchant Marines, dare I say. You think it's a long time, 2 years, 4 years. It's nothing. You think it's a long time because you're somewhat young. It is nothing. Once you get to 30, time flies. It just rips past, just flies. So do something while you're young that's going to broaden your horizons, give you a ton of experience, real world experience, and don't be stupid with your money. I love you so much. This was your new dad. Please, for the love of God, take my advice, or don't, and just sit around and go on Instagram and TikTok and watch YouTube and watch dumb movies and do nothing. Play video games and go on Tinder dates. But I would suggest getting out and living your life like an adventure. Yes, yes. Go do something epic. Stop making excuses. Pick up and go. Move away. You don't have to stay in the same place. You don't have to keep the same circle of friends that may be bringing you down. Get out there and live your life. Gosh darn it. I love you. This was your new dad. Have a good one. Keen.